I'm out of your shot.
You are out of my shot.
Is the wire
The invisible
one?
Which wire?
I'm sorry, we don't do it to this chaos.
No, you're fine.
It got moved.
Oh, did
The
it?
great thing about ICU nurses is
Sorry.
you guys are completely unflappable.
Yeah, I'm like, oh. I'm like, this is cool.
So, Penny, can you guys work out a way to let her know if the
Oh no,
shower
it's fine.
sound
It's
is
fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Good. Then we're good.
It's
There we go.
Is that all right?
whole
Yeah.
situation. We deal with what we deal with. So it's all good.
Okay. Is everybody?
Can you talk again, Christine?
Oh, test.
Okay, you're good.
Test.
I'm good on my end.
Everything
Okay,
okay?
I am set. I'm rolling.
Okay.
Speed.
Okay, so I guess if you could just introduce yourself.
Yeah.
You know, what's your name?
Sure.
And what do you do?
My name's Kristen Roach, and I am a medical ICU staff nurse, bedside nurse.
Okay, and just to make sure I have the spelling right, it's Kristen.
And
then
Yep. And then
last name.
ROACH.
Okay, and
Yep.
how long have you been an ICU nurse for?
For 5 years. Yep, I just hit 5. Yeah.
Well, thank you for all the work that you do. I know it's been especially tough recently. I mean, as far as your day goes, I don't know what does today look like? I mean, I don't know what you normally do, but
Yeah, I'm actually coming in for overtime today because they're really short-staffed. So I'm actually I just came in, and I'm just picking up an extra couple hours to help the team out because they're really short-staffed today. So just come in to help my coworkers.
What does that look like? What kinds of patient care are you doing? And I guess, you know, our focus is COVID.
Totally.
So are you primarily taking care of COVID patients or of other people who still need care even though, you know, who are coming in for other reasons?
Yeah, so in the medical ICU, we've been all COVID all the time for the past couple of weeks. So I assume that it's just COVID in the ICU when I go into work today, and I assume I'll be taking care of a COVID patient, and I'll take over for 4 hours and just help give some relief to the team so that nurse can go do something else. Staffing has just been tight, so yeah, we're doing the best we can, but requires a lot of teamwork and coming in for extra time and overtime and stuff like that.
for people who don't go and work in the ICU, can you give us an idea of what your day is like and what it's like to care for a COVID patient?
You know, I think being an ICU nurse, we're pretty used to making really big decisions and having a lot of responsibility that we make decisions with the physician team. But since COVID, there's been a lot more responsibility placed on nurses because we're the ones that are in the room. We're the ones that are in the room managing the drips that are keeping their hearts beating and stuff like that, keeping them properly sedated. So that they don't incur more lung damage, and it's been a lot of responsibility that nurses have had on top of what we already do, which is to really try and take care of the whole patient. And so we're doing a lot of very intense work, but then we're also doing the stuff that nurses do, which is cleaning and bathing and things that relate to a person's humanity and dignity.
In Southern Oregon and in areas of the state where vaccination rates are low and, just all over, hospitals are being overrun. And OHSU, you guys are kind of the ones that those hospitals call when they need help. So what's your take on some of these areas of the state where a lot of people don't want to get vaccinated? Those hospitals are filling up, and and then you guys are dealing with this too. I mean, what's your take on the whole situation?
I mean, I think the only way out is for more people to get vaccinated. We're so full that we can't accept other patients that need care, and it's really alarming to think about if something did happen that our ICU wouldn't be able to accept anyone else because we are so full of COVID, and almost all of those patients are unvaccinated. And I think people just don't understand that being in the ICU it's not a fun thing, like it's a really tough environment. And being sick with COVID is being on a ventilator, all those things, there's a level of suffering that happens with those. And, we're trying our best to eliminate that as much as we can, but it's just it's a really tough disease.
What's the hardest part of your job right now? I mean, I know there's so many different things that are hard there. I'm just curious to hear you talk about, like, what about this experience are you finding particularly hard to see?
I think part of what's really hard right now is that we've been doing this for a year and a half, you know, and we're tired, you know, we're really tired of continuing to go in and give the best care we can, you know. We're trying our best, and you know, I think part of the hard part is, you know, we're doing the stuff that nurses do, is like hold people's hands, and to do that in all my ISO gear, and to, you know, have limited family allowed, all of that, it takes an emotional toll on you. And I think what we've asked nurses to do during this time it's not fair, you know, like to care that much for that long under such duress has been really hard on us. And so part of what is hard is to see my team go through that too, you know, to see the people that I really love, the nurses that I really love on my unit, just have a really hard time. And to be in that isolated room with your patient who's super sick that you're doing everything you can for, but it's just a really tough scenario.
So it's not just the medical part of it, but it's the like, what is the core of what you do, which is caring for other people, caring for people beyond your family.
Right. Yeah. It's just so hard to see the effects of COVID on patients, on their families, on my nurse, you know, the nurses that I work with, on my team, on everyone that's here. It's been really devastating, and to keep doing that for a year and a half has been just the hardest thing I've ever done.
You talked a little bit about, you know, seeing your fellow nurses, the people you love, you know, having such a difficult time. Kind of tell us a little bit about, illustrate for us, what do you mean when you see them having a difficult time? What do you see that just breaks your heart?
I mean, I think we all nurses get into the field because you want to help, you want to like be of service, and you want to care for people and stuff. And so then to see, you know, my team members, other nurses that I work with, go into those situations where, you know, the COVID has been so devastating on someone's, you know, pulmonary function, that it's just such an uphill battle. You know, COVID has really pushed the bounds of what we can do for you medically. And to continue to go into that situation as nurses where all we do is care for people, and, you know, it's really hard. And to see my team do it too, to be in those impossible situations. I know how hard that's been for me, and then to see the people that I love to be in those situations has been harder than I ever imagined.
We've heard many times that this is preventable. But then, you know, of course you see people coming into your ICU, you and other nurses have to take care of them. How does that strike you?
It's hard, you know, it's hard because you don't want people to be suffering, and I wish that things weren't so polarized, you know, that people could understand more, could have more education, more people that they were around that had been vaccinated, and that people could see what a day in our life looks like. And you know, I think it would be a wake-up call, you know.
You know, there's a lot of people who believe that vaccination and masking are sort of a personal choice and an issue of freedom, and those are very strongly held beliefs for many in our country. And I guess I'm wondering, like, what do you think they're missing? What is missing from that perspective? What would you like them to understand from your perspective?
I mean, like, personally, there's so many things that COVID could potentially devastate in your own life, right? Like, you could never regain full capacity of your lungs again, or you know, like all those things, like maybe you would not be able to walk without oxygen, or all these things are really alarming. But on a bigger level too, I wish it was just more community focused. You know, I wish we could focus more on like, if I got vaccinated, then I would be protecting my grandmother, or I would be protecting these other people that I care about. And I just think that we've become so individualized that it's really done a disservice to our country as we're kind of embarking this next surge. So I just wish we were more community focused and more able to see on a larger scale how vaccination would help minimize the spread, and then we would be able to eventually return to some semblance of normal.
And I just have a couple questions because we're
Totally.
It's called a pool, so other stations might have other questions. So this is kind of a verbatim question from another
Oh,
station.
sure. Yeah.
They ask, is this any different than people making a bad choice, just a general bad choice, and ending up here?
I think it is, because you know, people do things, people make choices that have consequences that they couldn't see were happening, but we know we know what's going to come from this. We know what will happen if large quantities of people remain unvaccinated, and we could have predicted that this was, you know, this wave was coming, and you know, I just think it's really it's tough to continue to ask our medical system and nurses to continue to pony up for this kind of devastation.
And one more from another station. What do you think will convince people to now finally get a vaccine? Is there?
I don't think fear is a great motivator, you know. I think that I think meeting people that you know, like your mechanic, or, you know, like my neighbor, or someone that I know that I have a personal relationship with, and hopefully having a frank conversation of like where they're at and where we're at, and what the risks are, hopefully would help. But I think it has to be a personal touch, right? You know, they always say like your family physician and stuff. And I think as nurses, we can be good conduits for that. And I know we're all reaching out in our personal lives to people that we know that aren't vaccinated. But yeah.
I think I have just a couple more. Have you know, we've heard that there's basically no beds in the medical ICU anymore. I know there's other ICUs in the hospital still, but that's kind of a big line to cross. So, very serious situation. Have you been part of any conversations about sort of crisis levels of care and what happens when we get to that scenario? And from your perspective, how far are we from a scenario where we have to make decisions about who gets care and who there simply isn't care available for?
I don't think we're very far as like the largest academic medical, you know, hospital, but I think I don't think we're far off from that, and I especially feel for more rural hospitals that have smaller capacity. You know, I'm sure that they have patients there that they're out of their depths caring for, and that those patients can't get, you know, people in small towns across Eastern Oregon, they can't come to they can't get life flighted to OHSU because we're all full, and so those patients over there are those ICU nurses are dealing with patients that they've never cared for someone as sick as they have right now, and so I really feel for smaller hospitals, and I'm very concerned about what's happening on a state level. I think it's going to be a really tough couple weeks.
What do you most need? What do you most need from the state, and what do you most need from the public? I think we just need more people to get vaccinated. I think we really just need more people to get vaccinated, and I don't see another way out of this, you know. We need people to mask now, you know. People need to mask again and limit what they're doing and be safe, because, you know, we're so full here that, you know, like car accidents, and I don't think car accidents yet, but like other things will continue to be deferred.
because we don't have capacity here because we're so full of patients that need care.
So that's interesting. You mentioned masking, and I want to bring that up because I think the message has so much been like you need to get vaccinated, and that's such an important message.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people out there who I think are just not going to cross that line.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody who isn't willing to get vaccinated, but who still does feel some obligation to healthcare and the community, what would you ask them to do right now, right away?
Limit the people you're seeing, and wear a mask, and really consider getting vaccinated. I really think without more vaccinations, there's not any way. And I think, as a fully vaccinated person, I'm going back to masking around people and limiting my contact. And I think it's a moment that we all just need to reflect on our choices and be safe.
And what message of hope do you have for people? I mean, we're hearing left and right, like just dire, this is bad. But if there is something to be hopeful about, if there is something positive, I mean, what message can you give people out there?
I mean, I hope at the end of this, I think something that's kept me going on some of the hardest days is that I think 5 years, 10 years down the road, I think I'll be really proud of the nurse I was these couple years, But I think that could be extrapolated to a larger community sense, 5 years down the road, maybe you could feel really good about wearing a mask, and you could know that you prevented the community spread and you got vaccinated, and those are things that you can feel really good about later down the road. Because there's not going to be a quick resolution to any of this, but I think we need to think about our future selves and how we would look back on this moment, and to feel like you did everything you could to limit the transmission of Delta would be something that you could feel really proud of.
What are you sort of most proud of personally in your service?
I mean, I think it's, it's been a struggle to show up every day, but we've been here, and, my team has been here, and I love being a nurse. Like, I love being a nurse, but this has been really hard, and I'm really proud that I've continued to show up.
Is there anything else that you really wanted to talk about today, or maybe something we missed?
I don't think so. Yeah.
My husband tells me this thing about being a journalist. He says, you're a journalist because you do it every day. That's
Yeah.
what you say.
Yeah, totally. It is just like, it is showing up, and showing up when you don't feel like you can or you want to. It's just putting one foot in front of the other and doing it.
Do you have any nurse friends that are in some of the some of the smaller, more rural hospitals? I mean, I don't know if you guys talk or. I don't have a ton of nurse friends. This is the only place I've ever been a nurse, so I don't have a ton of community across Oregon, but I have spent a lot of time in more rural areas, and so I can imagine just how scary that must be right now, and I really feel for those small hospitals who are, holding on to patients that they would normally life flight out, but there's nowhere for them to life flight, and I can't imagine. They probably have 2 ventilators in there. I don't know what the resources are, but I can't imagine it's an easy place to be right now. Well, and even OHSU and
right.
what resources you guys have.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we have all the resources, and we're dry,
Thank you.
Yeah, totally.
When we're out of this immediate crisis, we got to figure out if you guys are getting like free national park permission,
right? I know. Totally. You want me to just take this? Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. You guys want to come on?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your service.